So, we need to talk about Behringer. Over the years, they've had several huge wins in the world of live audio, but now they're diving headfirst into the world of outboard studio gear, which is worth talking about because a lot of people hate this idea, even though the products so far are looking and sounding very impressive for the price. For example, last week Behringer announced its first 500 series preamp, which is a recreation of the classic Neve 1073. But the real kicker here is that the Behringer 73 is priced around $250, where the Neve version is, I think, slightly over $1,000. The Behringer 73, of course, came after the success of their larger 1073 clone, the 1273, which is a 2-channel preamp with EQ for $780. They also recently announced a 6178 clone for $619, as well as the recreation of the Neve 33609 stereo bus compressor for $609. And while that may sound amazing, there are lots of people out there who disagree. You may or may not know that Behringer has had this history of making subpar products with not so great build quality and not so great sound. However, they sort of climbed themselves out of this reputation over the years in a lot of people's eyes with the success of the X32, P16, Flow 8, and the Wing, as well as their huge line of synths, which all deliver on this promise to provide great quality at a lower price than its competitors. These products have had major success over the years, which I can only imagine has contributed to their ability to venture out into other areas of the audio world, like their recent recreation of classic outboard gear. And despite this, there are still people who are passionately against Behringer for a variety of reasons. By the way, if you're getting any value out of this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. So anyways, why do these people not like Behringer? Firstly, they're ripping off the companies and engineers who originally created these classic hardware units by making the Behringer versions much more accessible to the consumer. Secondly, Behringer's social media, which is essentially the face of the brand, has been known to be a bit impulsive, insensitive, and is not always great at wording things in a way that avoids friction. One example of this is that because they're controversial, they get many comments with people expressing their frustration with Behringer's business practices, to which Behringer will respond not so graciously and at times more so on the side of offense than the defense of its integrity. Thirdly, some people just aren't convinced that Behringer has improved at all since the days of its subpar products. Of the three of those, probably the one that I hear the most is that Behringer is ripping off engineers like Rupert Neve by cloning other companies' products and selling them for much less than the original. But here's the problem. Many of these people with this complaint don't seem to be bothered by other companies who are doing the exact same thing, like Universal Audio or Warm Audio, and there are countless others as well. So if we don't have a problem with UA or Warm Audio replicating classic gear, maybe we should cut Behringer a little bit of slack for doing the exact same thing. The main difference I'm seeing here is that Behringer is quite a bit less expensive, which I don't really think is a bad thing for anybody. My wife just brought me coffee, which is the key to my heart, if anybody was wondering. If these Behringer units end up flopping for one reason or another, that a lot of times means that the consumer has spoken, and it could be a sign that you just can't have that quality of hardware at such low cost. But if these units end up being a success for Behringer, it'll likely create more competition for these larger, more expensive companies, which is great for the consumer. Moving forward, these more expensive companies may need to pull some more tricks out of their hat, or even, dare I say, bring their existing products down to a more competitive price range. But that gets into this whole different discussion that I won't spend a bunch of time on in this video, but there's potentially something to be said about companies like Universal Audio and whether or not their pricing is an accurate reflection of what actually goes into the product, or have we been sold this idea that these companies are premium, so it doesn't really matter. Because of that, I think that if these Behringer products truly deliver, there would be nothing but good to come out of that. The type of people who would buy the Behringer 1273, for example, are not necessarily the same people who would spend $3,250 on the Neve version. So I'm not sure there should be any worry about Behringer stealing those customers, but I could be wrong there. I could actually see myself grabbing something from this new line of Behringer units. I've gotten so used to doing my EQ, compression, actually literally everything in the box, so I'm not dying to get any outboard gear at this point. But really, before this point, there hasn't been much to offer in this price range, so I just didn't really see it as an option for a long time, even though my desk has a ton of rack space in it and I think it would be cool one day. If I picked up one of these units, I think that it would be one of the preamps, maybe the 1273, but for my EQ and compression, I've been using Softtube and UA plugins almost exclusively since they work natively with Console One, and that workflow is excellent and sounds great. To be honest, I think that if audio tech companies keep evolving tech like that, it could be the perfect blend between hands-on control and instant recall. So I'd be curious to see if Behringer would ever try something in that realm, given their success with control surfaces like the X-Touch. I want this to be an open discussion in the comments section about whether or not this is a good thing. Should we be concerned about the long-term durability of these units? I actually made a whole video going over my first impressions of the Console One mixing system and why I think that it's currently the best option for this sort of thing. So click here to watch that video next. And as always, thanks for hanging out.